Currently recovering from yesterday's early morning.
You and me both. I told you I was quite wrecked when I got home yesterday.
Yeah,
I had a few extracurriculars after our curricular.
I was fatigued. I got home, and then we got burn daylight savings time.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's so depressing on so many different levels to literally have darkness at 5:30.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a little closer to 6 p.m. right now, but
it's going to get shorter.
It'll soon be 5:30.
I think the shortest day of the year is what, December 27th?
Yeah, whatever the winter solstice, I believe is.
Solstice.
The daylight savings time, not a fan, just not a fan. I understand, again, only so many hours of sunlight in the day.
Overall, did you have a fun trip?
I did have
We've
a fun
not
trip.
been on a day adventure in a while.
I thought you was fixing to say date.
We've definitely not been on a date in a while, so I guess you could consider that our day date.
I would say ever.
I've been on a couple dates.
I'm married, bro.
Well, yeah, but we're also married in business too. We're best friends. So
that's true. I saw a hilarious TikTok skit on that specific thing. So it was funny because, and I didn't mean to talk about this, but I mean this is where the conversation led. So here we go.
This is where we are.
Buckle up. It was really funny. It was a really well done skit too. It reminded me of the You Betcha skits. Like those dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Those dudes do a really good job.
Every Midwesterner does the knee slap to leave.
This one was when the wife meets the work wife.
Yes.
And they had a whole skit. So I guess the actual wife was for some reason at the place of employment with the husband, and the work wife showed up and they gave like some goofy high five or something. The work wife says, "Now, where's my normal morning greeting?" And so they kiss.
Oh my gosh.
So they kiss. And the wife's like, what did you do?
What is this?
What did you just do? He goes, "This is my work wife."
Babe, I promise you, me and Jared do not kiss.
No, but it was funny because like they continued on and the plot thickened and deepened and it was literally like, no, we legitimately got married. This is my work wife. Like I have to, and it was a really funny skit.
What's hilarious is anytime you and I are texting or communicating, my wife, Sarah, she literally will look at me. She'll say, "You texting your boyfriend, Jared, again?" I'm like, yes, I am.
Well, you're not a big texter, so.
I'm not a big texter, so to get a text from me, that means you're special.
I guess that means it's a little something.
I mean, you're a little special. I think you're special. But I did. I had a good date with you yesterday. We've not been on a day trip in a while, so.
Listen, I am looking forward to.
We did not help Cole skip school either.
Listen, I'm not involved in that.
We had an educational day.
Hey, we did.
He was knighted.
It was to the Cades. He was inducted into the Junior Rangers, right?
He's a junior Cades Cove National Park Ranger. He took the oath and everything.
I think I have a video of that, maybe.
Yeah, you've got a video of it. I've got a video of it. Well, this is funny. He wanted to wear his badge into basketball practice.
Yeah.
He showed his papaw. He showed his grandpa. Like he's assuming that role so much to the tune that as we were leaving my in-laws for supper, he said, "Dad, are you gonna take me to work in the morning?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I wasn't thinking. I was tired.
Yeah.
I was like,
well,
"No,
he's got rangering to do."
Yeah, I was like, "No, you're going to school." He's like, "No, I got to go to work." He's like, "Ranger Dave told me I got to come to work."
It's true.
I was like, "Oh, Ranger Dave,
he did take an oath.
You're a junior ranger."
He did take an oath.
So that was cool. That's awesome though that they do that for the kids.
Yeah,
I think
it was a lot of fun.
Parents, take your kids outside. Take them to a national park.
Listen, they'll love it. Trust me. Listen. Specifically, take them to Cades Cove. You ain't got a lick of cell signal.
No, which is where, man, I thrive in that environment.
I personally was a little on edge.
Well, you're a TikToker. You're a viral.
I'm not worried about the talk or anything like that. Screw that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I was concerned about was getting feedback from my wife for
your car door.
My car door. I told my wife once I got home, I said, "Babe, thank you so much.
Yes.
For going and easing my mind." Mm-hmm. Of course, I didn't find out.
Yeah, you didn't know.
I didn't find out till we got all the way back into Gatlinburg because it was first LTE I could get. Yeah. But like, once I found out that my car was in fact locked, I told my wife once I got home, I said, "Thank you so much for doing that. That was awesome." Because I truly could not. As normally I can visually remember. Like I can visually remember. I can make the next. Like yes, I hit the lock button. Yeah. All's well. I said I got so far into second guessing myself yesterday that I honestly was not even sure that I had closed the driver door, because I remember getting stuff out of the passenger door while the driver door was. Right. So I had that mental image of the driver door being open. I cannot remember closing the door. all that to say, evidently, I did in fact close it.
You did do that. You did do that.
And I evidently did in fact lock it.
And as a viral TikToker, your subscribers and followers and lovers of everything Jared Collins are still there, and you've been able to communicate with them now.
Listen, speaking of that, these people may be interested in a free LUT.
Ooh.
Hey.
We got one of those.
We do have a free LUT. And it goes atop iPhone footage.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Real nice.
That's saucy.
As Cousin Eddie might say.
Saucy.
Well, I was actually talking to Cousin Eddie because, Christmas is coming up. We got that Christmas vacation. Don't trust people who are quoting Christmas vacation already in their life.
I'll just ask you if it's full. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch the movie.
I crack up so hard when he says, Clark, if you would, just get yourself something real nice. After Clark has said, we're going to buy you a Christmas.
I'm going to spit my coffee if you do that again.
I love that part because it's like, he's trying to be so thoughtful. He's like, Clark, you know what? We'd love to do something for you too. Get yourself something
I was going to say
real nice.
For me. Real quick though, before we dive into today's topic, before we get to the meat and taters, I find the dichotomy of you and me hilarious because you're freaking out about the door possibly being locked or unlocked. Meanwhile, your buddy over here left a camera on the top of the car as we're driving around the bar.
That camera right there.
Camera right there was left on the top of my Subaru.
Not in the gear basket either.
Not in the gear basket. The basket mostly is there for aesthetic purposes, I'll be honest with you. It carries boxes every now and then.
Listen, it would have held that camera a lot better than the Dapper slick metal on the hood.
But yeah, like I said, just the duality that you and I live in as a work couple.
All that to say, we do have a free LUT if you want to go explore that.
Blue collar LUT. Adds a little pizzazz, a little spice, a little contrast, a little punch, to your image. Think
footage.
Of it as a creative filter.
Yeah, it's definitely a look filter, not a conversion LUT.
Link in the description below.
It's something to throw at the tail end of your footage.
Link in the description below.
Get that extra punch. Yep.
Anyways, meat and taters, Jared. Get us the meat and taters. We got a fun one today because we're fresh off of one of these.
Yes. We're going to talk about essentials of live events. And specifically, we're talking about like concerts. We're talking about speaking engagements. And we're going to kind of hit this from two angles, right? Yeah. We're going to talk about, first off, why you should hire media teams for your events.
As a business owner.
As a business owner or someone who's hosting an event. This is the reason why you should.
Yep. And kind of rank those in order of importance.
Right. And then the second half of the video, and we'll have to throw a timestamp here.
Yes.
You can skip to this if you are a photographer or a videographer who either wants to get into, or maybe you've got your first one coming up and you're kind of wanting some tips. We're going to start sharing some tips.
Hopefully this will help calm the nerves.
Yeah, for the second half of the episode. So we'll put the timestamp. You can go ahead and skip ahead there if that's what you're into. But we're going to start with, again, why you should hire a media team to cover your event.
Yes.
And I'm going to and we only covered like two of these things right off the bat. And I'll be honest with you, it's not the first two. So like this comes from a place of honesty here. I'm gonna rank these in priorities.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to rank them in order of importance.
And we are not the first two. So we may be ranking ourselves out of a job, but that's okay.
That's okay. I'd rather be honest with you.
Having worked a few of these now, I know the importance of these.
Yes.
Right? So like if you are putting on an event, after you get your event space locked down, you're going to want to start looking at services. The first thing that I think you should look at once you've got your event space locked down is a DJ.
Absolutely.
Someone who can handle your spoken word.
Yes.
With speakers, with microphones.
Your audio.
Get all of that taken care of.
Yes.
Now sometimes like at hotels and stuff like that, they'll cover that for you.
Yeah, they have that built in.
They have that as a fee. It may be worth it. Trust me. Having a good DJ, because if you've ever been to an event where the PA system was garbage or did not exist, how hard is it to understand the person? Like it's just not a good experience for the people in the audience.
Well, or even a good system was just mismanaged because the right person wasn't behind the knobs.
Right. Hiring a DJ or some sort of audio expert to handle the audio side of your event. Yeah. That's like number one for me.
Well, and again,
so if you can't afford anything else, get the DJ.
And that goes even further than the spoken word. I'm going to give a shout out to my dog, Mr. Darcy from Strong Mom.
Yeah.
He held the fort down for the most recent Strong Mama Palooza. Not only in the spoken word, did a fantastic job there, but Darcy kept the mood and the vibes.
Yep.
Peaking.
All the intermissions, he was playing music, all those things.
Peaking.
That's all part of the experience that goes so
boom. Experience.
So unnoticed.
He made it an experience because he had us peaking on the highs, but he also had us coming down a little lower when we needed to be a little lower.
It reminds me of, I'm going to describe this very poorly, but it reminds
Shout
me
out Darcy Dog.
of what my father-in-law says. So my father-in-law, he sings baritone, which is a harmony part.
In a bluegrass band.
In a bluegrass group.
Shout out Eric Fillers.
He said baritone I'm likening a baritone singer to the DJ.
Okay. I'm following.
Baritone, you don't always necessarily notice its presence.
Ooh, I know where you're going with this.
But you notice its absence.
That's profound.
Same thing with a DJ.
That's profound.
If a good DJ, you're not going to notice their presence, but it's going to make a great experience. But by George, if that DJ wasn't there, or by George, if that DJ does a bad job, you notice it.
Somebody write that down. That's profound.
Hey, there we go.
That's
second on the list. Listen, this is how most of these events go. They're typically spoken presentations.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes they're like TED Talks where there may not be visual aid, but if there is a visual aid of any kind, a pro presenter, a PowerPoint, whatever you're deciding to build whatever you're building your visual aid with, it would behoove you to.
Oh, that's a word.
I think I used it appropriately. Yeah. It would behoove you to have someone manage those presentations.
Ooh, very good point.
Manage those presentations, because if you are constantly yourself the person on stage who's trying to speak and present properly.
Yeah, and also over
if
here,
you're having a fiddle with your slides and, oh, shoot, that's wrong, I went too far forward, all those things. So someone who can help you manage your presentations, that's going to help you a lot.
Well, and it can be someone who's, in your organization that you've designated. Again, going back to Strong Mom, they did a phenomenal job this year. They basically put Jenna in place to be the presentation, the presentation runner for the show. So just designate somebody to do that. Even if you're not going to bring in a professional to do that, just designate somebody to focus on that.
Right.
Don't try to do it as the stage worker.
The next two things are actually things that we can help with, but you should hire a photographer.
Yes.
And then a videographer.
Yes.
So even again,
we know a couple of those.
If it comes down to budget, like if we're going in priority,
you're saying number one's DJ.
DJ, someone to help manage your presentations. Maybe you get by with someone internally, but you don't want the person on stage having to deal with that.
Right.
Then you hire a photographer, and if your budget stops there, that's where you stop. But if the budget allows, that's when you start to hire a team for video.
Yeah.
And
why do you say team, Jared?
Well, it's you can get by with one videographer who's just going to do recaps, but it's just really hard to adequately cover one with a team of one. Yeah. It just really is.
Well, unless you're like super duper experienced, which it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult even as experience.
Well, it's definitely difficult from a speaking event perspective. Yes. You could get by with a one videographer for like a concert.
You could.
Because they're going to put together,
they're going to put together a
montage, and one camera can capture that with
it's still handy to have multiple, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you and I, we split forces the other day. You covered a wedding, and I went and covered a birthday party. And even at that party, there were moments in time where, I mean, I'm a decently experienced event shooter. I was like, man, I need some backup right now, because there's some things that I need to go cover. Yeah. That are happening in addition to what's right here needing to be covered.
At the wedding I was at, same exact thing happened. There were two photographers, and they were able to divide and conquer and split up and adequately cover. Right. And the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, oh, shoot, there's one of me.
Yeah,
I can't be with the groomsmen and the bridesmaids. Yeah. But so a team for video is going to be helpful. But I would personally put, and again, someone who makes a living from it, I would put video at the bottom of the totem pole. It's the biggest luxury.
Secondary
it's the biggest
photo,
luxury. Yeah. But you do all of this, in my opinion, the biggest reason why you should hire these positions out for your event is for future growth and for future advertisement. Year one, what you're trying to do, you're sitting there, you're like, how can we market this event? It didn't exist until yesterday. How can we market this event? You're like, oh gosh, I wish we had media. Yeah. Right? I wish we had media that we could put in front of people. Well, that is where year 2, year 3, year 4, those things come into place, because a recap, here's the thing. Anything you do, like with a photographer or videographer, that's really helpful for the next event.
Absolutely.
It's advertisement for the next event. It
Yeah,
doesn't
you can throw it
necessarily
into
help
organic
you.
posts. You can throw it into paid ads. You can do whatever you want to with it.
It doesn't necessarily help you for that event, right? That event.
That one's a little bit of a leap of faith.
That one's done, right? Yeah. That exists, but you're putting the work in today so that your next one can be bigger, better, all those things. So it's for future growth and for future advertisement. If you desire for this event to grow in size, doubly, whatever it is your desire is, the best way to do that.
Maybe you want this event to branch into different areas.
Well, there you go. Have extras, have multiples in different cities, right? So like the best way to do that though is basically to create FOMO.
Yeah.
And you create FOMO, fear of missing out, by showing how awesome your event was, how powerful your event was through various medias or mediums of photos and videos. So that is one of the biggest reasons why I think you should hire out a team.
Agreed.
To cover your event. The bigger reason, and the next reason really comes down to, and I've personally been on a much smaller scale, but like for instance, I'm a professional photographer, professional videographer, whatever you want to call it. But like my kids' birthdays, right? That's an event. I would love to have professional photos of those things, right? I could take them. Obviously, I'm a professional, but then I'm not present, right? So like if I'm someone who's putting this event on, maybe I'm a speaker, maybe I'm not a speaker, I'm just the person setting it all up and lining all the speakers up. I don't want to also have the burden of capturing content that can then be used for future growth purposes. Yeah. So that is where this team comes into play.
Well, I mean, there's no reason at all that you should have to remove yourself from the experience, even as the speaker, as the presenter, as whatever. Like, there's no reason that you should even have to worry about that.
Right.
You know, your job for that event is to deliver your message, whatever that message may be. Your job is not to market, to create content, to gather content. Like, your job is to deliver that message. And so there's no reason at all that you should have to take yourself away from that experience.
Well, and even if you're someone who like is a guru at all things, like anytime you wear multiple hats,
something's going to falter.
Something's slipping. Yeah, something is slipping. If you take off your producer hat and put on content creator hat, like, well, now production is
going down.
Right, because you're not able to do it because you're producing it's a vice versa, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. You need to be able to focus on running the event and giving the best event possible. Leave the media to the people who you trust to do so. And then the second or the last reason that I think you should hire for event coverage and recaps, et cetera, is literally just for archival and like memory purposes. Yeah. Honestly, like if your desire is to have an annual meeting of sorts for an infinite or an indefinite amount of time,
you want to look back on those.
You want to be able to look back at those, right? And another benefit that I didn't necessarily mention for archival purposes is it gives you a chance to reflect and maybe even improve. Yeah. Like it does. Like it gives you a chance to improve. You can, rather than having to rely on literally just your brain, you've got visual aid to be like, you know what?
Yeah, I think we can tweak some stuff in the presentation here.
We need to bring in stage lighting. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Or maybe you want to change your information from the presentation period. Like maybe you want to work on your message.
Absolutely. So it gives you the opportunity to reflect and improve, but really it's just, I think the bigger benefit.
We need pyro.
Maybe we do. Maybe we do. But it's just to have that archival. Like I know it's so powerful for people who, you know, rise of varying speeds of success, but they rise in success, right? Yeah. Or whatever success is, but they rise. Yeah. And like think of like a Gary Vee or something like that, right? He's now speaking in front of thousands, right?
He's pretty big.
But at some point, he was speaking
in front of twos.
He was and so it's one of those things where not only can you yourself like benefit from being able to look back at how far you've came and grown and those things, but like it can also serve as like a future bit of encouragement for somebody else.
Well, and also too, I mean, it can be a point for case studies. Like if you have experienced some sort of explosive growth, like you can use that in your pitch. Like this is where I have grown from. Yeah. And it's because you have that archival data of video and everything. Side note, if you do need a pyrotechnic for your next live event, we know a guy.
Dang.
Shout out Bradley Dingus.
There you go. Well,
hit me from the work standpoint. So I think that's pretty encompassing for the business owner.
Yeah. So those are the reasons why you should hire. Now, pivoting into, you know, kind of the second portion of what we would like to chat about today is more so just like tips. Yeah. maybe you've, like I said, recently been hired for your first and
Yep.
you're trying to prep. Maybe you're trying to get some tips.
I'm
for
the
your
guy
first
in the
event.
choose your videographer game, and I am shooting my first event coverage.
Or, maybe you're somebody who's done
my first
multiple.
photographer.
These are just, again, possibly tips that you've not thought about.
These might help you.
My favorite thing about event photography and event videography specifically, and it comes from it's just my style of photography. I love to literally just capture what's happening.
Yeah, you're a documentarian.
That's my favorite.
Yep.
Here's the best thing about being a photographer or even a videographer at an event.
You can be a documentarian.
Your job is to capture.
Yeah.
You're not posing people.
Right.
You're not having to direct people.
Right.
None of that pressure, if that's not a skill for you, is on you at all. Now you've got to perform, but your performance comes in the facet of finding great compositions,
finding pretty shots,
and just finding the action.
Well, and a lot of the times, especially until you get into like very, very large event coverage, like you're not even crafting, quote, crafting an image. Like you're not worried about lighting and contrast ratios, all this stuff. Like you're just capturing what's there. Now, as you move up, you are going to do a degree of what we'll call set deck or set dressing or bringing external lights in.
Well, so I would say, and this kind of goes, we'll start with gear because that's kind of the thing that a lot of us like to nerd out about. But at a minimum, if you're a photographer hiring or you've been hired to do an event, I think you should have 2 cameras.
Well, photographer or videographer.
I think you should have 2 cameras.
Absolutely. For a couple
as a
reasons.
photographer, I would even say have both cameras on you with different lenses, right? Because you're not going to want to be switching lenses.
You can easily switch.
We'll talk about focal lengths here in a bit, but you can basically have 2 different cameras to serve 2 different purposes on you at one time.
You also have a backup in the case of failure.
Also have a backup. It's a great thing.
Yes.
If you're a videographer, again, I think from an event person or from an event standpoint, if your job is to do a recap, you need at least 2 cameras because you're going to want 2 different camera angles. Bare minimum, the easiest thing to do for an event, and this is a tried and true method.
The big wide.
You set up a wide in the back, centered, and you can even set right next to it on another tripod, almost the same composition, just tighter. Yeah. Right? It gives you a wide and a tight.
So you got safeties at that point in time.
You've got a safety. You can follow with the tight. The wide is always safe and in focus, and you can always cut back to that in your recap.
Correct.
But having 2 cameras is going to give yourself so much more diversity. It's going to make your recap videos more dynamic.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it's just 2 different camera angles.
Right. 2 angles. You got a safety.
With regards to lenses, I'm normally a pretty big proponent of primes because they're sharper and they're faster, generally.
Yeah, generally speaking.
But big asterisk here. There's a big proponent, a big case for zoom lenses.
Absolutely. You've got to be versatile.
Strictly for the versatility.
Agile, mobile.
You don't know what hand you may be dealt with your
time out
with your venue.
I need to switch from my 85 to my 35.
Can't do that. Can't do that. Now, I guess there's a thought process, and you could have 2 bodies and have 2 primes on there.
Sure.
But you're still only locked at those 2 focal
you're locked
lengths.
at those 2 things.
I would further suggest something. This is tried and true. Have one body with a 24 to 70.
Agreed.
Have another body with a 70 to 200.
Agreed.
You're going to be able to literally cover from 24 millimeters
all the way to
200 millimeters.
That'll do a lot. That'll do a lot for most events.
In the exact same spot, and your compositions are going to differ, and you're going to be able to provide a lot of variety there. On the video side, same thing. I think it's so helpful to have zoom lenses. Now, if you happen to find a composition on a tripod with a prime lens,
sure, rock that.
But if you're any sort of mobile, like a C angle, right, or a third camera angle that is mobile and capturing moments, having that versatility of a zoom lens of sorts is going to be very, very helpful.
I'll give you real life practical right here because, again, we're experienced in this realm. We'll go back to Strong Mom this year. One of the things that we were tasked with, specifically on the C-cam angle, was we were trying to cover this stage and also crowd interactions during Q&A sessions. So it's great that I have a 70-200 at that point in time because I can punch up to our speaker,
Yep.
I can come back down if I have an audience member near me.
Yep.
And get them in the frame. I can go all the way across the room to an audience member asking a question because I've got that reach with the 7200, and because it's a zoom lens. I can't do that if I'm stuck on a 50 or stuck on an 85 or a 35.
No.
So there's definitely something to be said for versatility. And what this does, this is just gravy. This makes your client very happy when you give them a variety of different, what we'll call hero moments.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's just gravy for any client experience, is for you to be able to cover their event, like you said, in a dynamic way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truly, like a C-cam, a third camera, is it's probably the least used angle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be
the gravy.
It's going to be the least used angle, but it is like that added little like, oh,
yeah,
I forgot they had a camera over there, and you just got this beautiful moment with our participants hugging one another.
Yep.
That A and B didn't get because it's focused on the stage and the present. So it's it's literally the icing on top.
Yeah, it's gravy. And from the shooter's perspective, C-cam angle's fun because you're tasked with just
finding good moments,
just finding pretty stuff, like
finding good moments.
comps. Yeah.
Well,
you get to kind of play around a little bit.
We'll wrap the gear up with some general statements. Have multiple SD cards.
Yeah.
If you're a photographer, if you're a videographer,
or whatever media,
whatever you're shooting
takes,
with, right? Have multiples.
Yes.
Because you can have a failure.
Yes.
Have multiples and back up on site.
Agreed.
Every event, even if it's a 3-day event, they have intermissions. They break for lunch. They break for this. They break for that. This is when you need to either yourself or have someone on your team hump it over to a laptop where you've got a backup setup.
And dump footage.
Dump
photos.
You know, at that point, you've got it in 2 places. So you're just being a good steward of what you've been asked to capture.
Of the data.
And if you're a video person,
you're a data daddy.
This doesn't really pertain.
Or a data mama.
Whatever you are. This doesn't necessarily pertain to photographers. It's more so for videographers. But have yourself an audio backup.
Yeah. Or a couple
audio backups. I'm a big proponent of backups. Yeah. I'm actually
you're an IT guy,
probably a bit anal with some of these things.
But you're an IT guy, so it's expected.
Have yourself an audio backup. Maybe that's as simple as, you know, if you've got those, if you got any of those wireless solutions.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It works. It may be a bit goofy to look at, dude. Gaff tape that thing to the microphone. Seriously, because you're going to...
Well, just tell them to hold it to the underside the whole time. Nobody will see it.
Like, it's going to be in proximity.
Yeah.
You're going to get it. And it might not be your primary because you're going to hopefully have a good line out from your DJ, right? That's going to be
Which is very important. Make sure you get a line out from the DJ. And even if you just have
ask nicely. Ask
nicely.
Don't
say, give me that line out.
Well, yeah, don't demand it. And also don't be this person, because the DJ that I was with at the past wedding, he said, last time I had a dude literally just plug into my board.
Oh, cool.
And he needed an AC outlet, so he unplugged my laptop.
Oh, very nice.
So, like, don't be that dude.
Yeah.
Most DJs, if you ask them for a line out,
they'll give it to you.
Have different cable solutions because they may give you quarter, they may give you XLR.
Yeah, don't be the soundboard butthole. Be a nice guy.
So,
again,
all that,
shout out to Darcy Dog for working with us.
Have you a backup?
Yeah.
And at the very least, if you're someone who is on a mobile camera, maybe you're on a gimbal. Obviously, gimbals get heavy. You're going to want to have probably the most condensed rig you can have.
Yes.
Probably not having an external mic on there. Maybe you are. Either way, set your in-camera recording levels at a safe level.
Yeah, safe levels.
Don't have it clipping because you're like, oh, I've got this source, I've got this source. Great. But good recaps, in my opinion, have
a lot of natural stuff.
A lot of ambient audio at a super low level, right? Yep. It's nice to have that crowd noise that you can tell is synced up with the visual at a super low level.
Well, but as a viewer, it puts me in the environment.
Yeah. You don't afford yourself that opportunity if you are neglecting your audio levels.
Right. And you just hear...
And it's through the roof. It's unusable, right? So...
Set some safe levels. Set some safeties.
Those are more so on the gear side. But your job, and this is where the documentarian in me loves this style of coverage. Your job is to find good compositions.
Yes.
With good lighting, and find reactions. This is the key
Good
part.
reactions.
This is the key part. You're going to naturally find your good compositions. Right. You're going to find that framing between the two people in the crowd, their heads, and you've got the speaker on stage. This is a great composition because you're showing environment. You've got context. You know that this is like a crowd POV.
It's all clicking.
But that shot, and I've done this, so I can tell you this from experience.
We've done this recently.
That shot is useless. Asterisk. If the person speaking is not giving you a good facial reaction, if they are, you're going to catch people at different stages of facials, like all of these things. Like if they're giving you an ugly face,
don't snap that.
Well, if you do, just know like you didn't get it.
Don't throw that in the final.
Yeah, just you need to stay there because this composition's great. Be patient. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I was gonna say we all get it. Like when you're running and gunning in a live event, you're popping frames off. You're feeling
composition.
You find it. You're feeling good. You're like, oh, this is money.
Yeah,
and you get whiskey throttle. That's what it is. You get the photographer, videographer's version of whiskey throttle.
Yeah,
just be patient. Sit in the pocket. Be a Peyton Manning. Sit in the pocket.
Listen. So like there were several good compositions, and this is
wait for Reggie to get open.
Speaking for experience, there were several really good compositions. Focused on, say, the presenter at this time. Framing was beautiful. Execution was great. Exposure was good. The photo was useless because we weren't not patient enough to get... Well, basically, it was as simple as the speaker wasn't even facing in the direction of the photo. Their head was turned.
We got whiskey throttle.
So you're like getting the back of somebody's head. Yeah. It's like, well, this isn't a good photo. This would have been so impactful had we waited to 30 seconds.
Yeah. If my trigger finger and my brain had just been a little more patient.
So just be patient. You're going to find those beautiful shots. Yeah. Wait until that beautiful shot.
Let it develop.
Really becomes that.
Let that play develop.
That money shot.
Sorry, I'm giving a lot of football analogies right now.
And literally just have fun with it because it is so fun.
Live event is very fun.
It is so fun because that's your job is to find good compositions and good reactions. And if you're showing crowd reactions, it's the same thing. Don't just find like, this will be a good shot. Wait till it is a good shot.
Let it develop.
You know what I'm saying? Wait till it is a good shot. Wait till that person that is your subject is giving you the face that you need, right? Or maybe just the face, not the face that you don't want.
Yeah. Well, and this is just going to be something for live event coverage in general, whether you're a photographer or videographer. And this is something that it may come as a surprise because we hear this sometimes that it's not always the case, but be fun to work with.
Yeah.
Be fun. Like, yes, we're doing a serious job. Yes, our goal is to like encapsulate this person's event, but like be fun to work with.
Just be a joy.
Yeah, just be nice to people.
Yeah.
There's enough Richards in the world.
Yeah.
To where you don't have to be one.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of them to go around, I promise. But like just be fun to work with.
Yeah. And that's something that we I don't know. I guess pride ourselves on is we try to be fun and easy to work with. To be fun and easy to work with because again, that's part of the experience.
I would venture out to say that 9 times out of 10, that will get you rehired faster than the Richard who may have a little bit more talent.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, if the dude with all the talent is not enjoyable to work with from start to finish. Yeah, that's not gonna provide as much confidence to rehire as someone who
experience goes a long way. I'll just say that.
I loved working with those guys. I did.
Experience goes a long way.
We've had that told to us.
And I'm sure on the inverse, there's been times where people have said, "Oh, I don't like working with that guy," but I at least try on my side of things to be fun to work with.
Yeah, because I know cameras are freaking intimidating. Most people. Actually, very few people start out like
just being camera savvy,
being good in front of them, either from a model or just a speaking perspective. That's normally a learned behavior, but by and large, people are very timid behind them or in front of them, right?
Yeah, intimidated by them.
Yeah. So you're already doing something that someone's
you're
generally uncomfortable with.
Yes.
You further like exponentially make the uncomfortableness uncomfortable.
Yeah.
By also being a prick to work with.
By being a Richard, yeah. For
so
sure.
you can disarm a lot of people by literally just being a human.
Yeah, just being goofy.
Just being goofy. Oh, well, that's natural. I can do that. Do that in my sleep thereabouts.
Pretty good at that.
But yeah, great tip. Just be fun to work with. Be fun to work with.
Which that goes for business in general. Like if you're pleasurable to work with, you will get rehired.
Yeah. And that's
promise
also
you that.
that's
I
also
can promise you that.
Yeah, that will also
That
translate.
transcends live event.
It does. It does. That's also going to come back in the form of referrals at some point. Because the person who you were fun to work with and you did a good job for their event, they're going to have someone at some point ask, hey, who did you have for this? Oh, dude, these guys were great. Mm-hmm. Not only did they do a bang-up job on the content, it was the most fun I've had in 3 years. You know, whatever. That comes back to you. It definitely comes back to you.
Agreed. Speaking of things that would come back, Jared, there's some things that would be greatly appreciated to come back our way. What are those?
Feedback. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review.
Stars and bars.
Leave us a comment.
Yeah. Send this to your buddies that are about to do their first live TED Talk.
Yes.
Or about to shoot their first live TED Talk.
These that we talked about were like bare minimums. It can get so much.
We can get pretty weedy
so much
with
deeper
one.
with this stuff, and it can always be improved.
Yes.
So I would be curious if you are a photographer or videographer. What are some tips that you would give?
Yeah, throw those in the comments down below.
And if you're a business owner or an event host,
throw your questions in the comments down below.
Maybe talk about, and I know people have had bad experiences, and that's where a lot of hesitancy to book services like ours exists, is bad experiences. It's like, so it's kind of like when they say, what is it? One bad apple will ruin the whole batch.
Ruins the whole batch.
Or the whole bag or the whole bushel or whatever.
The whole bunch.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If someone has a bad experience with a media team, they're a lot more hesitant.
Yeah, they kind of ruin it for the rest of us.
They do. So, like, if you're a business owner or an event host who's had experience, good or bad, I would love to hear about it. I mean, I really would.
Comments below.
There you go.
On that note, Jared, here's the hard part.
We will see you at your next event.
He did not make that hard at all.
There we go.